Hey everybody, Barry Greene here for another live stream. I've got more time on my hands now because I'm on summer break from the University of North Florida. So I figured I'll just turn the camera on when I'm sitting around here just practicing. So glad you stopped by, and if you have any questions or requests, I'll try to answer them. So hope everybody is good, and thanks again for being here. Okay. Whee, I can see. See if I can get these comments. Tony, thanks for being here again. Rob Hendricks, greetings to you also. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today too. All right, Valerio from Italy, how are you? It's good to see you. Philip, how's it going, man? I'm just gonna sit here and just noodle a little bit longer and wait for some more people to get here. But if you have any questions or maybe some requests, I'll try to get to them. Okay, Philippe, exercises of your picking technique. Just slow, I practice very slow. And for me, it's all up and down or down and up. You know, it's interesting. Sometimes I'll watch, these videos myself, and I can see that it's really not 100% consistent. But I practiced it to be consistent. But I can see that I really favor upstrokes on more melodic passages, and I don't know why. But as far as just the 8th notes or 16th notes, when playing fast or whatever, I just practiced like this. With a metronome. Just making sure that my right hand was always relaxed, very, very consistent up and down strokes, to make sure they always felt exactly even. That to me, the right hand, I'm sure everybody agrees, is the hardest one. So just slow, all I'm trying to say is slow and steady. The speed comes later on. But also one last thing is, sometimes you may find things that you consistently are not playing well. You might run into, whatever it may be. I can just give you my own example, which is, and I still do have issues sometimes going from a downstroke to an upstroke on the string, lower. So I would just make up exercises to try to fix that, rather than just, if I'm playing this all day long, and that's not helping me fix that other problem, it just seems kind of like a waste of time. So I came up in exercises like this. To kind of just to create something that will address that problem specifically. Same thing with the metronome, really slowly and trying to just eliminate it, But a lot of the things that you may have problems with don't just fix themselves automatically and aren't fixed by just playing scales traditionally. You really have to kind of dig in a little deeper, figure out what your particular issue is, and work at it. Bruce Hirsch, did I move? Yeah, it's been about a year though. I've been in this place for about a year. Michael Dumas, how do you come up with these progressions for practice? I'm not sure what you're asking me. If you mean just me sitting around here just noodling, I talked about this the other day, but more than happy to talk about it again, because I think it's really a great exercise as musicians, we're just playing melodies, and I need to do something with this. There's an A natural here. I always get these comments about there's no fret markers, so I'm starting to get in the habit of just that you know what note I'm playing. So if I end on that A, really it could be anything. It could be any chord. I mean, it's really, really all there is to it, because you can make pretty much any note on any chord work somewhere or another, So I might start with a, and now I'm in the sound of a mode right now. So my following melody will come out of this particular chord sound. Now I'm in a different sound. So to answer your question, the melody is pushing everything along. I'm just harmonizing the notes as I get to them, and it's really a very creative way of practicing. It's also a great way to try to develop chord melody stuff, Yeah, so that's if that's what you meant, that's what I'm doing. If you didn't mean that, hopefully that helps somebody else. Good to see you, Rafa. Okay, so Michael, I hope I answered your question then. Rafa, I've tried that, putting notifications on Facebook, and I don't get any more people than I normally do. I even tried scheduling it. I don't get any more people than I normally do. So if you were subscribed to my YouTube page, you should get a notification on your phone. So, and Michael, if I didn't answer that correctly, please let me know, and I'll try to answer it more specifically. Larry, of all the minor scales, which is your favorite or go-to scale? Man, I don't know if I'll say favorites. I'll just tell you the ones that I find myself using more than others. Obviously I think the Dorian mode is a biggie, and then the melodic minor scale and all of its modes. When I say all of them, I mean about 4 of them that I use pretty regularly, and I have a really great lesson on that on the website, by the way. It's just called the 4 modes of melodic minor. So probably just in order of usage, it would be Dorian first, followed by a melodic minor. Harmonic minor is another one that I get a lot of use of on dominant chords. That Phrygian dominant scale that I've talked about a bunch. So like I said, I don't think of them as favorites. I just think of them as the ones that I can utilize the most. So. Well, yeah, Michael, I don't know this. It is kind of, I wouldn't say random, meaning that the melodies I'm definitely hearing, and then when I get to a melody note, it takes me a second longer. I don't know what the exact time. It takes me a little bit longer, but we're talking about still very quick moments in time, where I'm trying to capture that chord sound in my ear, and then playing it. So it's not random really, at all. The only thing there's no random aspect to it at all. It's just that I'm not trying to fit into any kind of scale or key or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to play. Like I said, it frees you up from a lot of stuff, but on the other hand, it forces you to be able to be musical in that situation, which is not as easy, I think, as seeing a chord. Let me shut these notifications off. Seeing a chord and then, using your brain to do all of that analysis and all that stuff. It kind of takes all that away. Hey, Michael, thanks. I learned a lot from the pianists, so I understand what you're saying. Michael's saying he subscribed to my lessons last week and he plays piano. Yeah, I learned so much just from the pianists. I've talked about this before, but just especially when I grew up in the 70s, 70s and 80s, I guess, is the most practice time I was putting in, and the piano players were so far ahead harmonically of the guitarists, and as time has gone on, the guitar players have definitely caught up, and now there's a slew of just amazing modern jazz guitarists now that harmonically are at par with any of the guys, and I really think it's just great. But guitar has definitely had to play catch up, for sure. When you had guys like Herbie, playing with Miles, you didn't really have the equivalent, I don't think, on guitar. And if we did, I didn't know of that particular person, So I think it's really, really cool where things have progressed. But I would say all the harmonic stuff that I have, a lot of it, a good percentage of it was from stealing stuff from pianists, without a doubt. Practicing ho-ho. Antar, I don't know what you mean by that, but okay. Somebody got on my YouTube page today and made a comment on during that dream, was asking me about the part of the tune that goes. And asked me what the correct changes were, and I really don't necessarily know. I don't have a lead sheet on that on me. But he kind of was, it seemed like he might have been a little miffed when I said you can make any of it work as long as the chord works with the melody. And I think he really wanted a much more substantial answer, But it also made me think about the tune, which is a great tune. So I'm just going to play that for a minute. Michael is saying I was not sure the voicings you used would work on the piano, but they do. Yeah, I'm using, they're probably not as large, like as far as the amount of notes, density-wise. But they're just conventional voicings like, we all learn, like drop 2 voicings, closed voicings, drop 3s. Same stuff that you probably would learn on piano when you're learning 4-part chords. But obviously you have the advantage that you can use all 10 of your fingers to create massive amounts of sound. Oh, it's starting to rain here in Jacksonville. Okay, so here's a little During That Dream. this one. And that last A, I stole that from, speaking of modern guitar players, Kurt Rosenwinkel. He just uses major 7 sharp 11 chords on the whole thing. It's killing. Rafa, thank you so much for that. That's super, super nice. You guys, that's Rafa giving me a super chat. Seems like a goofy name though for it, doesn't it? By YouTube. But thank you very much. That's super, super nice of you. Super generous too. Let's see. Okay, cool. Naviana Knowlton is at my son's school. He goes to school with my son, so I always got somebody keeping an eye on him always. Emily Remler said improvisation is a mostly rote playing with little true. Oh, no, I don't agree with that at all. And I'm actually surprised, Larry, that you 100% about that? I don't agree with that at all. That's my thoughts. I mean, obviously, we all practice phrases just so we can, get to them in the course of improvising. But no, I don't agree with that at all. If I were to even just dissect that a little bit and say how much of it are phrases that we've practiced, and again, I've talked about this a lot, that, the evidence is super clear when you look at, Coltrane, Charlie Parker, Sonny Stitt, any of the masters who played changes. I'm excluding any of the modern musicians who have really, I think, made a solid, not a solid, but a real attempt intentionally to remove any of the kind of vocabulary that I'm talking about now. But I'm talking about foundational linear playing that allows you to play over chord changes. There's tons and tons and tons of evidence that those guys practice, because you see the same lines in the same solos, you see the same lines in other solos. It's really quite obvious. I don't have to make that point. I don't think anybody would disagree with me on that one. But there was also an incredible amount of just pure melodic playing. If you guys ever heard Clifford Brown on Pent Up House, the Sonny Rollins recording, it's brilliant. It's a perfect mixture of what we're talking about now, where it seems like every opening of the chorus was just the most beautiful melodic stuff. But then you heard him play, his bebop stuff, which is definitely by rote, as you're using that language. Wes Montgomery is probably on the guitar is probably the greatest example of just, I would say 60 to 70% complete pure melodic guitar playing at all times, and then sometimes you hear him do things that you've heard him do before. So no, I don't agree with that, and I don't know if there's like a really good percentage, 50-50 kind of a thing. I think that for most of us, it seems like there are just like these intuitive places where each of them work great. I'm closing my eyes only because I'm imagining in my head. I think that if you use blues, 12-bar blues as an example, it's a very good vehicle for talking about what you're asking. What? I gotta make sure something. I never set up the sound preferences on this. Let me make sure I've got the sound going right here. Whew. Okay, good. When you think about, like, for instance, Charlie Parker solo. That's pure melody. There's no doubt about it. And there's an answer to that phrase. So all that to me is melodicism, and it's all question and answer and all that kind of stuff. And then when the 2/5 comes in the last 4 measures of the blues, it's licks, and I can't even play, that Charlie Parker thing that's like lightning fast. It's really not guitar line. But anyway, and that's, you hear that in everybody. It seems like that was the formation of it. You know, so if you're playing blues, 2, 3. So it's really kind of a good exercise in itself just to practice like that. You know, in other words, think I'm going to play melodically for those 2 4-measure phrases, try to make really conversational lines, you know, question and answer. And then the last 4, yeah, I hate to say it, but plug in like a lick that you know. You know, of course, the practicing part of that is just to get in and out of it so it sounds musical and not contrived. But anyway, I know I've spoke a long time about that, but that kind of hit me in a deep way, I guess, just because I wonder how many people think that really we're just doing stuff, playing a bunch of memorized licks. That would be awful. Daniel, thank you so much. That was really, really nice of you. Okay, Naviana, thanks for your notes. Rafa, I'm going back and forth, but I am really liking the sound of this. I mean, I'll plug in the other one if you want me to in a minute. But I'm really liking, I don't know, there's something about the attack of it that I like a lot, and I really love the sustain. You know, like on gigs, especially trio gigs, it's just great because it really allows me. Allows those chords to just ring out, man. I almost feel like I could be a piano player for a minute, where on the arch top, the tone dies away pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it a lot. Michael, the back cycle lessons improved my playing 40%. I'm glad to hear that, man. It's funny that you put an exact percentage on it. Great, I hope you get to 100%. Rafa, Barrier, every time you go live, I learn a lot. Thank you, man. I do appreciate it. It's fun for me, too. That's why I'm here. It's so much fun for me to hang with you guys, tell you about my lessons, too, obviously. But, you know, I have an audience, you know, and practicing by yourself is one thing. But when you know that people listening to you, it makes you play better. Or at least it makes you try to play at a performance level versus just sitting and practicing scales. So it's really, really great for me, too. Suresh, when you improvise, how much do you stay playing in position? I am a position player, there's no doubt about it, so a lot. Larry, thank you so much, man. I am a position player, so even when I'm not playing chords, I'm still visualize them as I'm playing. So, you know, if I use that F blues example, if I start playing a line here, sorry. What I was seeing during that all the time was this. Then I played a B diminished chord in the line. So I'm seeing all the harmony. So in that regard, yeah, I'm playing in position without a doubt. But a lot of the stuff I've worked out, like if I were to play, like these little 4-note patterns like this, are great vehicles for getting up the neck. You know, so it's the same exact thing, just the next string set over. You know, so I could, yeah, I guess this is the best I could do what I'm showing you right now. But as I go up that, this is B flat minor. You know, so I'm seeing even as I'm moving up the neck, these new areas where the chords are really apparent to me. And that's helped me a lot, man. I mean, a real lot. Let's see. So that's that. So I'm going to play a little bit now. I played a little chord melody thing a moment ago when I first got here. So I'm jumping over to Ableton Live. And I think I'm going to play some rhythm changes. I've been messing around using different fingerings that I learned this with, so that's why I'm kind of just going over it really quickly. All right, so here's a little rhythm changes. Maybe 2 or 3 choruses of comping, because I've got the tempo at 2:44. rhythm changes. I don't know if you guys heard that pow of thunder, but sorry, it was a beautiful day here, and now it's raining. So that's whatchamacallit. Rhythm changes. Oleo. Okay, so you guys have gone quiet. Weekend in LA. I always mess those up. That's the Okay, Rafa, I will honor your request. Weekend in LA, so I got to get kind of a funk groove. First, let me get a tempo. What do you think here? So that's about 115. So I'm gonna find the right groove here. I think this is one I always use. I'm gonna make it a little bit faster, I think. Okay, let's go through those changes again. So, Weekend in LA by the great George Benson. All right, let's make sure. Okay, I think we're good. Let's do that. Mixmaster Barry screwed it up. Let me double check these. Sorry, you guys. 50 measures long? I don't know if that's right. We'll find out. Two weird endings in a row. Anyway, that's Weekend in LA by George Benson. Okay. Robert McPeak. Are you using Ableton Live for your looping backdrop? Yep. That's it. I'm just copying the chords in beforehand and just playing. Yeah, Robert, on my lessons, it's all me. I don't have anybody assisting me in any way at all, which is, that's the way I like it. You know that old saying, if you want something done, do it yourself. Done right, I should say. Do it yourself. So, thankfully, I do have the time, so I'm able to do pretty much everything. But I think one thing that kind of surprises people a lot is like on all those lessons, when I do the performance at the end, like I just put up one on Aerogen, by the way, which I think is really great. These Sonny Rollins. So the performances of those, when I put the headphones on, like when you guys see me put the headphones on in those lessons, all I have in there is a click. I'm using the click from Ableton Live, so it's all quarter notes, which is not the most musical thing for me, and I'm playing these solos without any kind of accompaniment at all. It's no chords, no drum machine. It's just the click on every quarter note. And then after the fact, I'll comp all of the chordal examples. And then anytime I do anything, like giving an example in the lesson, I'll go through the whole lesson and just add a second guitar part. Obviously, it makes it harder for me to do it that way, especially the performance thing, because it's really a sterile situation, you know, just playing along with a click, and I really have to get inside my head a little bit. But the nice thing about it is I can comp to everything I play. You know, if I start playing some things like, you know, if I hear myself playing the diminished scale, I'll just comp the diminished harmony to it. So I can really make the accompaniments pretty good that way. But I think a lot of people, well, I know just from talking to people online that they're surprised that that's the way I go about it. So, but it really, really works. And it's great practice, by the way. All that stuff is great practice for me. Robert, so Rafa, I kind of feel that you're much more into that Benson and Martino style than any others. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, why would I even argue that? I mean, those are my two favorite guitar players coming up, and in the 70s and 80s, not followed by, but along with Wes and Joe Pass. Those are my four guys. You know, I don't have any explanation for it other than when I would hear them, I would just be like, wow, man, this is exactly how I want to sound. And I followed my heart, you know. So I make no, I'm very, very outspoken about that. It is what it is. I am who I am. But yes, no doubt, man. Luke, do you have any tips on the George Benson? I don't, man. I don't have any tips on the George Benson picking technique. It's really a unique thing, but there are guys out there that have put it into some sort of, teaching a philosophy, you know. One guy in particular, if you guys haven't heard him, his name is Peter Farrell, and he's from Brazil. I don't know, maybe if Daniel knows him, he's in Argentina. I get this gigantic continent, like I'm thinking two people in two different countries gonna know each other because it's on the same continent. But anyway, yeah, he's an amazing guitar player, and he's really gotten George's thing together, technique-wise. It's unbelievable, man. But he has found a way to teach it. So go look him up, Peter Farrell. It's Farrell, I think. And George is very, very aware of him to the point where he's got, Peter has been to George's house in Arizona numerous times. There's tons of video of them together. George Benson even took Peter to one of the NAMM shows to introduce his new Fender line of guitar amps. I don't know if you guys even know that those exist, but George apparently has a Fender line of guitar amps. Anyway, he brought Peter along to do all the demoing. So George played a little bit, and there's a great YouTube of this. See if you can find it. And then Peter just sits on one of the guitar amps, just starts playing, you know, and you could see it in George's face, just pure happiness. You know, instead of being like, "Hey man, this guy's stealing all my stuff," he was like, you could tell he was so proud and moved by the whole thing, you know. So Peter Farrell, I'll go check him out. Robert McKeek, you were handy, seamless with the software. Seems like a steep learning curve. Well, look, man, anything that has, results like this, yeah. I mean, it definitely takes a little bit of learning, you know. But as you saw, I mean, you know, I'm trying to push a button and play an instrument at the same time. That part trips me up every once in a while, like I did today already, where I had to stop. But yeah, man, it's just hours spent, and I know that, you know, not everybody out here does this for a living. I mean, I do this for a living. Obviously, you know, I play guitar for a living, but I also teach tech classes at UNF, so I'm very on top of DAW technology like Ableton Live and Logic and all the other stuff out there, and it's a big passion of mine. So yeah, it definitely requires some hours. Oh, Rafa, thanks. Yeah, I do. Thank you for reminding me that on my website. On the video lesson website, there were some free videos up there showing you how I go about the whole process. Very, very detailed, actually. So thanks for that. Robert is asking what hardware is involved. I'm not using anything USB. I'm using the UAD, Universal Audio Apollo Twin, which is Firewire. It's very, very fast and does all the processing on board. Like right now, I'm playing through emulations of a 55 Fender Tweed amp and a SSL, an emulation of a channel strip of an SSL console. So it's not just me playing directly into the interface and getting the sound. It's going through some really nice plugins. All this stuff is really, really good. I mean, you know, like I said, this is my career, so I definitely spent some money getting what I think is the best stuff out there, you know, for a home studio. I don't have the capability of, plus I'm in an apartment here, but you know, for recording 1 or 2 inputs at a time, I think I have pretty much what is regarded like the best stuff out there. So, I mean, it's not like over the top where I had to take a loan out, but you know, I don't know how much of this would be justified by a hobby. You know what I mean? All right, I just started going into my little home place there for a minute. Benoit, nice name. Hi Barry, thanks for your videos. I'm learning a lot from them. My question is, can you give us a few examples of how to approach chord tone using enclosures and chromatics and how to use them on 251s? Thanks. Benoit, I'll be honest with you, I never learned how to play like that, so I really can't. I never learned how to play at that micro level like that. I mean, I understand what you're saying about chord tones and enclosures and chromatics, obviously, but rather than go in that direction, whereas I look at my instrument and think of a mode like, you know, G major, you know, that's the key of the song that we were just in. I can't just go to a scale and think about, well, I can use a chromatic note here or an enclosure here. What I did was just transcribe a lot of guitar players and saxophone players, people that I admired, like Rafa already pointed out, and I think it's pretty obvious that my guitar heroes, you know, were Benson, Martino, Wes Montgomery, and Joe Pass, but I transcribed a crap load of Charlie Parker. Honestly, with that exaggeration, probably 40 Charlie Parker solos when I was a young guy, you know? And the same thing with Coltrane. I remember I took about, I think at least a year, maybe even 2, just transcribing Giant Steps tunes. Like, you know, Coltrane uses Giant Steps on a lot of tunes, not just Giant Steps itself. And transcribed, you know, a lot of them I still have. They're in my office at UNF. But yeah, but then I would take those lines and just look at them in the way you are, you know. So if I saw a G major, a line might be Pat Martino line was that he plays a lot as Benson. So I mean, I can look at those and say, okay, yeah, there was some chromaticism, enclosure. Joe Pass was another enclosure. He used to play. But I don't think like that. I can't go approach it like that. I can only assess it after the fact. You know, but all the linear stuff that you hear me play is all based on things that I've learned from my heroes, and then have kind of morphed into whatever I add to the equation. You know, do I sound original? I don't think so at all. I mean, I think you can hear all my influences. I like to think of myself as coming strictly, definitely out of that old school, really articulated guitar player like Benson and Martino, you know, and Joe Pass. But I also like to add the more harmonic element, you know, much more involved right now in expanding my harmonic range with substitutions and different colors, but utilizing that same kind of attack and sense of line that those guys had inspired me so much to do. Okay, long answer. Robert sounds delicious. Okay, all right. Questions are great. I'm hanging, man. It's 2:18 here on the East Coast of the United States. I'm here, so if you guys have any questions, ask away. Something to play then. I'm jumping over to a note app here. look at my set lists. A bunch of good tunes. I'm going to play that tune, Secret Love. Chris, how do you practice motivic development? Man, it's a really, really great question. It's one of those things, man. Sometimes it's hard to do that, like just practicing, in your own little space. Because I think, like, for me, the motivic development really goes hand in hand with playing with people, But I mean, you could do simple, like I was playing Secret Love. The changes to that are. So if I start with a line. So what I was trying to demonstrate, it really didn't even come into play, which is why it's a hard thing to practice, was just, maintaining the integrity of whatever motif you are working with and make sure you can deal with it across a set of chord changes. So sometimes you'll have to modify a note or two, which I think happened at least once. I was hoping I'd be able to do it more over a set of chord changes. But as long as you are keeping like I said, the integrity, I think it's the best word I can come up with, of your idea, then you're playing it in that, I think, confidently and legitimately in that particular way, So I think that's really a part of being an improviser. Like I said, is just hard. Sit and practice in your bedroom. It just really is hard. And I find myself being more like that on gigs where I have the interaction with musicians, because a lot of motivic playing is based on a sense of repetition. And once musicians are expecting some sort of rhythmic device, they'll start playing totally differently to accompany you. And then once it happens, it's just kind of like a snowball of creativity, So I know that's kind of a crappy answer, but did the best I could. Rafa, one thing I like is that you can hear the big Martino and Benson influence, but I think you have your very own particular style. I appreciate that very, very much. Jesse Menard, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Pat Martino likes to convert everything to minor. Do you think like that too? In some regards, yes. Like I've mentioned before, the one thing that Pat does that really changed my guitar playing life was on minor 7 flat 5s. To think of the third of the chord and play minor from there, that changed everything for me, because there was a time when I was practicing all the stuff that I was transcribing, and I would have little manuscript books. One was filled with major 2/5s that I would catalog, from solos, and practice them. And then I had a separate manuscript book of minor 2/5s that did the same thing, that I lifted from recordings, and it was just practice in this manner that allowed me to get it all over the neck, But there was 2 sets of material that I had to practice, But once I learned from Pat's reduction to minor thing that you could play minor on a minor 7 flat 5 chord, it changed everything, because now I no longer had to practice 2 things. I already had a crap load of Dorian stuff together, from doing all the transcribing. So it's just a matter of applying it. So when I've learned that on D minor 7 flat 5 I could play F minor, it changed everything. Because I have tons of that stuff, And then, with the further discovery, and Pat does talk about this, but I came about it from a different way, which is, you realize that when you play D minor 7 flat 5, to get to the dominant chord, that would be in that progression, which would be G7, just moving up a minor third. That the D minor 7 flat 5 becomes G7 here. 7th, 3rd, flat 13, flat 9. So it became apparent pretty quickly that, building off of what we were just talking about, that I could take any line and play, that for G7. So, yeah, man, that what I just described to you changed. It was a huge, not a breakthrough for me, because it wasn't my idea, but man, when I learned that just took my playing to a whole different direction, So, in that regard, yes, no doubt about it. Porty. Hopefully, I'm sorry about that. No, I'm sure I'm screwing that up. Hi Barry, what should be the approach to learn a tune for a beginner? I think it's a great question, man. I think it's really an insanely great question, because I don't think it should be any different for the beginner or this professional, which is just to say that if I'm about to learn a tune, the first thing I'm going to do is listen to different versions of it. And if it's a standard tune, which I'm assuming you're talking about, I would definitely try to find a version by any of the singers that we consider, vocalists, in other words, with the intent of making sure the melody is being sung correctly. So in other words, guys like Frank Sinatra, Sarah Vaughan, just to name a couple from each gender, that their intent is just to sing the tune as perfectly, as beautifully, I should say, as possible. So they really paid a lot of attention to the melody notes and, of course, the lyrics. So that's where my first thing would be, is listen to the vocalists, and then go seek out. Just type into Spotify or whatever music streaming service you use, and listen to different versions, and get that tune so in your head that you're already pretty much, learning it. And I won't talk about this a lot because I've done it before. I know I can go crazy on this topic, but like when people will say, "Do you know this tune?" To me that means, can I sing the melody? So if I sing the melody, I know it. I don't have to refer to a page. So somebody says, "Hey Barry, you know this tune?" And like I'm saying to you, if I could sing the melody, I know it. If I could sing the melody, I could play it, only because I've been doing this for so long. But when somebody will say to me, "Hey, I forgot this tune," or something along those lines, in my mind I'm thinking, well, then you never knew it, because you can't remember a tune. Like, I may be speaking incorrectly about this, but I don't think I've ever just forgotten a melody. It's the kind of thing, how music is in our minds, that for whatever reason we are really great as human beings as remembering melodies. So I think that's a lot of the, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I think that's a lot of reason why, studying things that have to be memorized, if you put them to melody, you don't forget them. And I'll tell you on a personal note, this is really goofy, but I'll tell you that I remember back when I was in high school, it's going way back, we're in the 70s here, and a friend and I were sitting around with guitars, and just for fun, we started playing like this Pink Floyd kind of a stuff like that. And I sang the first 2 lines of my biology book. I think it was 8th grade biology. I can recite it to you right now. That's 8th grade. It's going back like 40 years. I can still remember it. So the first thing I just want you to think about is learning a tune is different than being able to play it on your guitar. You know, so if you know the tune, that comes from listening, like I told you, then it's just a matter of can you play it on your guitar. And you should be practicing that anyway, which is to say, hearing melodies in your head, playing them on your instrument. You know, even if it takes you a few minutes to figure it out, doing that every single day is super, super important. And the last part of that whole thing is that the harmony, that's a different thing because you can't sing chords, you know? But you can get really good at recognizing some of the most important chord progressions in jazz tunes. 2-5-1s to major, 2-5-1s to the relative minor, 2-5 to the 4 chord. You know, things that appear in every single tune from the American Songbook standard. And you just get good at recognition. And again, that should be a big part of your practice. You know, ideally, having somebody else with you is the best way to do this, where you can, you know, close your eyes and say, okay, here's key B flat. Have your friend just play, say, hey, look, here's your choices. It's either going to be 2-5-1 to the 4, 2-5-1 to the 6, or 2-5-1. And, you know, just be honest with each other. Don't look and just play. You want to try it right now. Just don't look. Internet land, don't look. So I'm in the key B flat. Tell me if it's 2-5 to the 4 or 2-5 to the 6. So I know there's a big delay here, so I'll wait a minute. But that's the kind of stuff that you should be practicing all the time, you know, because ultimately your ear is the most important tool you have, you know. So hopefully that helps you. Benoit's kind of asking a similar question, just from the harmonic point of view. How do I determine chords when transcribing a George Benson? It's exactly what I just said to you. Where if it's a traditional tune, I'm going to hear all the things I just discussed with you. If it's not, just focus on the bass tone. Once you've got the bass, you know, and you can sing it, you know, once you've internalized it in your ear and you can sing it out loud, then you just jump to chord qualities. You know, obviously the big categories are major and minor. So try a major third with that bass note. If it works, you're almost there. Then is it major, major 7, dominant 7? You know, any chord that has a major third in it, and you can do it in that manner. You know. Guy, Bejarano, heard of Jacob Collier. I think he's the most brilliant musician to come along, probably in generations after. Maybe like, I know it's crazy to say, but on a level of like Mozart, I think. Guy's pure, absolute genius. It's just incredible. I watch videos of his all the time. The other night I was, you know, falling asleep listening to discuss that negative harmony thing that he talks about a lot. It's like, it's so incredible, it's so inspiring, but my opinion is it's just sheer brilliance. If you guys haven't heard of Jacob Collier, you need to. I'm sure you guys have. Yeah, I mean, it's astounding. It's absolutely astounding, you know. And as you know, Guy, in a matter of minutes, you know, he's best friends with Herbie Hancock and Quincy Jones. Not like it's some sort of underground thing, but yeah, I think he is like one of the greatest things to happen to music ever. Rafa, interesting that you see tunes that way. Guys like Howard Alden know the entire real book and a little more. I know, I've played with Howard, and he could take me out in a minute, meaning that he knows so much music. It's unbelievable. And he not only does he know the tunes, he knows where they're from. You know, he can tell you like the show or movie that it came from, or Broadway play, or whatever it is. And it's really amazing, you know. So like on a gig, if he were to say, hey Barry, can we play this? I'd have to say, well, if you play it first, you know, for a chorus or two, and then I'll have it, because, you know, although like I said, the songbook standards are all the same. But yeah, he's another one, man. Yeah. It's funny how you guys, Guy and Alex, right after each other, to the 4 to the 6. Yeah, the 6th degree or the 4th degree of the major scale. 2-5 to the 4 chord, 2-5 to the 6 chord. Oh, you guys are answering me. Now this is great. This is great. I know, complete space case. So here's two people giving 2 separate answers, you know. So there you go. So the answer is to the 6. So Alex, you get the prize. And a guide, just something you just should work on. The giveaway on that example, by the way, is the 6 is minor and the 4 is major, and that alone should help you come up with the correct answer. But you want to be able to do that on gigs immediately, just as you. I say this all the time, and then some person will just pop up and say, "Hey, I'm colorblind," you know. But what I'm saying to you is, be able to recognize those sounds as readily as you could recognize the color of the shirt you're wearing right now. It's got to be immediate. So it's something you can work toward, without a doubt. That's right, Jonathan. 2526. You guys are absolutely right. Jacob Collier and Jamie Cullum, crazy she calls me. I haven't heard that. I love Jamie Cullum too. I really do. I've got a bunch of his stuff on playlists that I listen to. Yeah, Jamie is killing. But I've got to hear those guys together. One thing that I've seen a couple of times is a few different instances of it. Is the piano player from Dirty Loops, I forget his name, and Jacob Collier together. You know, those two guys are just internet phenomenons, and both of them are thrust into the limelight because their talent is just, you know, you couldn't keep these guys down. So it's amazing. I'm trying to remember the piano player's name, but they're doing some covers of Stevie Wonder tunes, and the piano player from Dirty Loops can sing like Stevie Wonder. It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. And his piano chops are like Herbie. And this is, I think he's from like Holland or something like that. I'm sure you guys will correct me on all this stuff, but man. All right, let's do some Secret Love. Jump over to Ableton Live. It's a nice little medium tempo. Sorry, that's the other comping I did. Let me just mute that for a second. So that's about 190. Let me get a drum groove going. Let's try this Roy Haynes one. That's good. It's a nice relaxed tempo. I call that like kind of in the crack tempo, where I feel like I almost want to do all downstrokes, which is what I'll do like on slower tempos. And it's right between that and me wanting to play up and down. So it'll be a good practice for me too. So here's the comping to Secret Love. Secret love's no secret anymore. Back to YouTube. Rafa, don't you think it would be a good idea to start a Greene group on Facebook? Woo! I don't know if I have that kind of time to comment, but I'm trying to be generous with my time with you guys like this. But I don't know, maybe you're right. I don't know, maybe you're right. Antar Blue, you just increased my vocab on minor 2/5s tenfold. Yeah, well, you could thank Pat Martino, because that's where I got it. Hey Flavio, how you doing, man? Jonathan, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really am loving this guitar. It's really, really. I don't know, why. I mean, my other one is sitting right here. I was playing it earlier today. I love them both, but there's something about the. I don't know, man. It's hard to put into words. It's just. It's not the feel. The instruments feel pretty much exactly the same. It's just something about. I feel like I almost could be a little bit more expressive with it, tone-wise. And I think, I don't know, man. I just love, like I said earlier, I love the way I can sustain chords. It allows me to play more like I want to play. So, all right. Rafa, thank you so much. And thank you again for that super chat thing. Super chat is pretty cool. All right, so how long have I had? I feel like I'm hanging out for a while today. Let me see what time it is. An hour and 20 minutes, okay. Okay, you guys have anything else we want to do? Okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Antar. All right, let me think if anything else comes to mind. I'm gonna go jump over to my tune list again. That's Yes or No. It's a Wayne Shorter tune. Oh, thank you. Thanks about the guitar. All right, let's. Jonathan, I imagine it's more tonally versatile than the Bravo. He's saying the octaves just now sound like they're played on a real fat, full, hollow body arch top. I know. A lot of people have mentioned that to me. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like when I brought the guitar up to Benedetto's shop, it's only about 2 hours from me, 2 hours north in Savannah, Georgia. But even the guys over there were saying that, man, this is one of the most acoustic sounding GA35s we built. So it's a mixture of a blessing and not, because in the regard you're talking about, yeah, it sounds great. But then I also occasionally have the sonic issues that an arch top could have, with a bit of occasional boominess or real resonant coupler notes that actually, I'll be honest with you, I'm dealing with it right now. I'm trying to figure out how to remedy it. I've lowered this pickup on the bass end down, but it's just a couple of pitches, the notes B and C. Don't use those too much. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how I can tame that a bit. Let's see. Otis, the real Carlos. Thank you. That was a very, very nice compliment, man. Thank you. Beatrice, that's a good tune, yeah. Marty, I have not studied Django. I haven't. I love the playing. I love all those gypsy guys, man. Some amazing, amazing music. Let's see. What's the price tag on your Bravo? Howard told me yours is a little different than the regular Bravo. The only difference, and it shouldn't really make that much of a price tag difference, is the pickup on the Bravo is, I think, what they call the B6 versus the A6. I think that's the difference. But that is the only difference, though, man. So I think it's still in the $5,000 to $6,000 price range. Yeah, Jay Canlon is saying the 335 axes certainly have a vibe about them. Yeah. It's funny, when they were just coming up with prototypes, I happened to be spending some time with Howard Paul over there at Benedetto Guitars. We were on a couple little workshop clinic things together, and he would have me come up and play all the instruments, which is really a pretty good gig. I was playing, like the plywood Bravo like I have, and then the ones that are, spruce tops. Then just had me play these $20,000, $30,000 guitars. But he always was bringing one of these along as a prototype. And I did make the comment that, man, I just freaking love these guitars. So I'm glad I was able to get my hands on one. Jake Hanlon, maybe swap out the bass strings to a lighter gauge. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, I'll figure it out eventually. It's more resonant. It happens more on the lower, even though it's the same pitch. It happens more on the fatter strings. So maybe you do have a point there. Yeah. The only drag about that is, man, having to mix match string sets and having to buy 2 sets of strings to string a guitar. So I'll figure it out though. Okay. So maybe I'll do yes or no. Alright, let's see. Thanks for your advice. So tempo wise. So that's about 220-ish. Let me check that out. That's a little under. Let's go a little faster. Yeah, I like that tempo a lot. So here comes some comping to Wayne Shorter's Yes and No, or Yes or No. I always mess that up. Sorry about that. I think I second guessed myself and I felt like maybe I didn't play the changes right, but I think it's fine. Here we go. Wayne Shorter, yes or no? Yes and no. Marty V, any chance we can see you perform in Europe soon? I hope so. I got an invitation, as a matter of fact, today to go to Italy, but far from anything definite. Benoit, how many ways can you harmonize a certain melody in a 1-6-2-5 progression? With a substitution, a lot. I mean, a lot. I don't know if there's a specific number, but probably, I don't know, a lot. Less than 100, but a lot, I think. I don't know if that last statement was right. Tons of ways, man. Tons of ways. Okay, I guess that'll do it for me, unless I'll sit here for a second, see if anybody else has a question. If not, I'm going to go. For those of you guys who don't know about my website, please go check out my video lessons. If you just go to my webpage, barrygreene.com, there's a link to take you right there. Just did the newest one I just did is on Origin. I'm really, really happy with that. It's such a great tune. Such a great song. All right, well, I think that'll do it then. I'm not seeing anybody say anything else, so I guess I'll take a break. Go. I can't go walk anywhere because it's raining outside. How do you go? This is Brandon. How do you go about innovating licks you apply to a tune? I've been told that innovating licks, at will is a good thing to do. I think when you're saying innovating, you're thinking of, or just meaning to say creating. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I do think that as well. But if, like, for instance, if you're learning a line that, just to try to modify it. But for me, I I think it's important for me anyway to start from something that I already have worked on, you know, learned from a recording or something like that, and try to change it, you know, modify it so it can take on some new life. Plus, you can come up with like 3, 4, 5, a dozen variations on a simple little line. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it too, for sure. All right. Jonathan's asking just a tech question about the guitar. So I have 12s on this one. Flat wounds, G is a wound G. All right, you guys, with that, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you have a great day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you again soon. So take care, and thanks so much for being here. And thank you guys for those super chat thing. That is awesome of you. Thanks. All right.